Can y'all hear me? Oh, I'ma tell you what's tea. Let me tell you what's tea. There is nothing in my cup. Hello, it's Carmen J. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute. I'm trying to be more consistent with my content, but being inside during this pandemic has really taken a toll on my creative process. So thank you so much for bearing with me. Today I have a story time. I have tea. So in my last video I said if you wanted to hear about my story being emergency evacuated out of Ecuador, that all you had to do was comment down below. And I got a couple comments and boom, here I am. So I'm going to tell you how I was emergency evacuated in the I'm going to tell you how I was emergency evacuated from my Fulbright grant. I was in Ecuador for about 5 to 6 months and Corona was like, it's time to go. Where do I start? I don't want the story to be too long, but I want to show you like the craziness of what my life was about a month ago. It all started when I was in the Amazon. I was living my best life on a boat, looking at animals, just chilling in the hot, sweltering heat that is the Amazon. And we got an email saying, due to the pandemic, you all have 5 days to decide whether you want to leave Ecuador or come back. There's no guarantee that if you decide to stay, that we can guarantee you a plane out of this country because the country's about to lock down. I lived about an hour away from Quito and about 2 hours from the Amazon. So I wasn't really in a position to leave the Amazon and go back home, pack up all my stuff, and close my accounts, get my security deposit, and make my way back to an airport. That was just impossible. And also there was no flights. All the flights got booked up, so your girl was staying in Ecuador. So I made my peace with it. I was like, I guess I'm staying. We're going to ride out this pandemic in Ecuador. I was preparing myself. We had to end our Amazon trip about a day early. We're riding back and I'm like, I just feel funny. I need to pack up all my stuff. I was like, even if I am staying, I really don't want to stay by myself. And I planned on staying with a really good friend, Julia. I'll insert her picture. So I was like, you know what? This situation's getting tricky. Let me just go back to La Tacunga, pack up all my stuff as if I was leaving, and ride out this pandemic with Julia, so we're not by ourselves. As I was in the grocery store, we had a meeting with our commission, and they were like, yeah, so actually, we're asking you again to reconsider leaving because the country's shutting down, it's getting bad, and at this point we can't help you. Like, God forbid you get corona, we can't help you in the hospital. Like, you can go, but like we can't really be that support for you anymore. And I'm just like,
oh, it's time for me to go.
So I had bought all these groceries. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I asked him, I was like, so does this mean I have to close all my accounts and like pretty much like finito everything, like we're not coming back? And she was like, yeah, everything needs to be closed, it's over. This is basically the end of the road. So I was like, okay, ran back to the mall where all my business was at, closed my Wi-Fi at my house, closed my cell phone plan, and then I had to get my money out the bank because I wasn't leaving the country without my coins. Like, I went in the bank, there was this huge line, and I was like, I told the security officer, all this is in Spanish, I told the security officer, I was like, the US government is ordering all Americans out of your country and I have money in the bank and I need to go and my plane is leaving in like 2 hours, which was a lie, but I had to get my money out. And he was like, okay. So he put me in contact with the boss. He signed a slip saying that like all of my money needs to be out of the account, but I still have to wait in the line. So I'm like panicking because I'm still in La Tacunga. I need to make my way back to Quito because that's where the airport is. And the roads were closing at 6 o'clock that night, or 7 o'clock, and my ride was coming around like 5:30 to get me back to where I needed to go. And it's like 4 o'clock. So I'm waiting in the sign, getting my money, hyperventilating. Oh, finally got my money. I'm like rushing to like pack my stuff, everything. I had to leave some stuff because my mom brought me back a suitcase. So I had 3 suitcases and you're only allowed 2. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wasn't leaving without my stuff. So I just packed up all 3 suitcases. I had to tell my landlord that like I'm leaving. I need my security deposit back if that's possible. She gave me my security deposit back. We cried because I didn't want to go. I'll insert a really ugly picture of us crying and trying to take a picture. My room is packed. I gave my landlord all my groceries because she didn't get a chance to go grocery shopping. And I packed up all my stuff, hired a driver to drive me back to Quito, and I had a flight the next morning. Okay, so I'm mentally preparing myself to leave the country that I love. I'm staying at Julia's. I go to sleep, sleeping peacefully. And I get a phone call from a friend in Peace Corps. Shout out to Victoria. She's like, you need to leave now. Like, all the roads are closing. They're not going to let anyone on the roads, whether you're going to the airport or not. It's like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. My flight's not until 11. And so I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so I call the other people, all the Fulbrighters who are leaving. I was like, you guys got to get to the airport now, like right now. And all other Fulbrighters live like an hour away. One girl lived exactly 2 hours away. And the road was closing in like an hour. I was like, I don't know what you have to do, but you gotta get to the airport. The Peace Corps people told me that their people said that the roads are closing and no one's going to the airport. Whew. I'm rushing. I wake up Julia out of her sleep. And I'm like, do you know any taxi companies that can drive me to the airport? Because I need to go now. And so she calls a taxi. He's ready. I have to, like a thief in the night, take all my stuff, and I'm in this taxi at like 3 o'clock in the morning going to the airport. And then I found out that my flight got pushed up, so I had about an hour to get my stuff through the check-in and get on this plane. Now the plane wasn't taking me back home. The plane was taking me to Guayaquil, which is like more south of Quito, because those were the only flights that were going internationally. So I went from Quito to Guayaquil, waited in Guayaquil because the roads were closed and our pilots couldn't get to the airport. So the U.S. Embassy chartered Peace Corps, Fulbrights, and other people that wanted to leave the country on this huge chartered U.S. Embassy plane. And so we're waiting. I'm getting to know more Peace Corps people, talking to my Fulbright people who are leaving. We're all sad. And I'm like, it's been like 2 hours and everyone's filtered through the security system and no pilot is on the plane. So we're like, where's the pilot? And someone's like, yeah, the roads are closed. We're asking the president to open up the roads. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So finally, after waiting, we got on the plane and we're taking off. We're saying ciao to Ecuador. We land in Miami and it's about midnight. So we go through customs. No one checks our temperature. No one really does anything. Meanwhile, when we landed in Guayaquil, they checked our temperature. But when we landed in Miami, nothing. We just went through the airport as if it was a regular day. I don't know if it was because we were on a chartered U.S. Embassy plane or what have you, but they didn't check us at all. So we're waiting. It's midnight. Waiting for our luggage. None of my luggage comes out. About half the people's luggage comes out, and the rest of us are like, where's our luggage? Mind you, we were the only flight out of Guayaquil. There's no flights coming out of Guayaquil. And so we're like, where's my luggage? Funny, because my luggage is not here. We're waiting, and they're like, yeah, we think your luggage might have gotten left in Guayaquil. And I'm like, who needs to get fired? Because we were the only flight leaving. So either y'all robbed us, or y'all just didn't hire any staff to put our bags on the plane, or y'all robbed us. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, so how do you, that level of incompetency, how? And they're like, yeah, we just can't get in contact with them right now. Like, we think that your luggage is gone and you're just going to have to write your name and address and number on this piece of paper and we're going to see if we can send you your luggage. And I'm like, so all I have with me is my backpack and a carry-on. Like, that's literally all I have. And I'm just like, great. Everything that I had in my apartment, basically everything, my wigs, y'all, everything was in my suitcases. So I'm like laughing, but I really want to cry inside. So we're waiting for like another hour, and like the conveyor belt goes and we're like, oh my gosh, our luggage. So our luggage finally comes. We finally check into our hotel because my flight was the next day to DC. Wake up, we say our last goodbyes to the girls that I was with, and I was on my way home. And that's pretty much the story. Now I'm like always prepared to like leave, drop my stuff and leave. Like, it's kind of crazy. But that's my story. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a thumbs up. Comment any other comments that you have or questions that you have about my evacuation. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.